This afternoon. All right, good afternoon, everybody. I am very pleased and honored as a member of our Hearing Loss Association Rochester chapter to welcome and introduce these lovely four panelists that are joining us today from Lifespan. And they are here to help us understand the importance of healthy lifestyles through exercise, healthy eating, meditation, meditation management, sleep, and healthy relationships. Also very important, we'll want to pay attention to their talk about fall prevention, which all of us have a concern about, I'm sure. I'd like to introduce first Sarah Otis, who is the program manager. And is it Julie? Okay, let's do Julie Battaglia, who is health and wellness coordinator. Barb Grizzly, Mansour, assistant health and wellness coordinator, and Cindy Cahill, who's a therapist, trainer, and counselor. So please let's welcome this wonderful panel of ladies, and I'm sure we're all going to learn a great deal about how to better take care of ourselves. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Gail, and thank you so much for having us. Who is familiar with Lifespan? Yay, that's what I like to see. Wonderful. So we are with Lifespan. We are with the Health and Wellness Department. And I just want to see, Charlie, the PowerPoint, where is it so I can see where we're at? All right. Get our slides queued up so we can share our presentation with you. But Lifespan doesn't just do health and wellness, which I'm sure most of you know then. Over 30 plus services for older adults. So care management, financial services. This is the time of year with open enrollment, the Medicare open enrollment. So if you have questions about that, they can provide assistance with that. Wonderful, here we are. So thank you. Okay, so our presentation are some tips on successful healthy aging, which that's a huge lifelong topic, isn't it? You can ask every different person and you get a different answer, but we have some strategies that we share primarily from our Aging Mastery program. Here's our slide for Lifespan. We take on the challenges and opportunities of longer life. So the good times and the bad, call Lifespan. I like to always have a quote. There's a nice quote by Michelangelo. The greater danger for most of us lies not in setting our aim too high and falling short, but in setting our aim too low and achieving our mark. So we're always pushing ourselves within reason to be successful. So what does healthy living mean? Or what does healthy aging mean? What does healthy mean? Well, the World Health Organization defined health as a complete state of mental, physical, and social well-being, not merely absence of disease. So it takes into account if we have a chronic disease or not, but that doesn't define who we are as a person. The definition of healthy living includes the steps, the actions, and the strategies that one puts into place to achieve optimum health. So health as this, cloud of what does that mean? And then healthy living is how are we choosing to live our day to day to be most comfortable and be, as successful with what we choose to set out for ourselves day to day. So I wanted to share this slide that there is the truth that as we get older, there is the chance that we are going to have at least one chronic condition. I know I'll be 42 this month and I already have several, so it isn't just an age concern. However, this slide shows that those 65 and older, 80% have at least one chronic condition, and 68% have at least two. And the top heavy hitters as far as chronic conditions are hypertension, high cholesterol, and arthritis. Okay. Okay. So at Lifespan, we have our evidence-based workshop. So evidence-based meaning they've been proven to work when followed. So sometimes when we want to make big lifestyle changes, it can be, oh my goodness, I don't know where to start. So sometimes an evidence-based workshop can provide, here's a great start. Here's a great support group too. So our workshops can be really helpful to get someone through the door and start laying down the groundwork for what healthy living needs. All right. And one of our primary purposes with our workshops, can you forward the slide, please? It's not working. The button's not working. We just click back on the show. Yep. Let's see. I'll try. There we go. Hooray. Technology, we love it. But sometimes, you know, all of that, the good and the bad. So the goal is to break the symptom cycle. So symptom cycle, I'm sure we've all experienced this. If we have some pain, it causes stress. If we are stressed, it can cause more pain, which can lead to not sleeping well, which can lead to feeling more limited. So our goal, whether we have a chronic condition, whether it's asthma, whether it's diabetes, whether it's hypertension, we all might have similar symptoms, so similar strategies can also be helpful. So in our aging mastery class, I just wanted to share what the concept of mastery was. So the idea is we teach new information. So each week there's a new topic, which we will cover several of those in our panel today. So we give new information, and we all live different lives, different lifestyles, different household setups. And so we all have different needs and different challenges. So to individually take something that you learn, try it out short term, and then the hope is that long term it'll translate into a long-term healthy new behavior. So that's kind of the idea of mastery. So our programs that we offer, I did want to share. We have 2 fall prevention. We have our Living Healthy and Living Healthy with Diabetes, and our Aging Mastery program, which we are going to focus on today. So those topics, areas of focus, there are 10. We will be focusing on exercise, sleep, healthy eating and hydration, a little bit on medication management, healthy relationships, and fall prevention today. But those are all covered and all have great value when putting the pieces together for living a comfortable, successful, healthy life. And at Lifespan, we kind of came up with our idea of what are the dimensions of healthy living? And we see it as being physically and mentally healthy, being able to manage or navigate chronic conditions, management of disease, and social engagement and connectedness. Since I think everyone in this room recognizes and appreciates the importance of being together for connectedness. So our Living Healthy classes, we do have workshops specifically for It's called Living Healthy. They run once a week for 6 weeks. We cover both, having to deal, you have to address the chronic condition. So if you have diabetes, you do need to get to appointments, manage blood sugar, and follow a healthy diet, while also we need to acknowledge that having a condition can change relationships. It can cause emotional changes. It can lead to a lot of anger, frustration, or guilt. So we talk about the physical and the emotional in our classes as well. And the diabetes class specifically includes monitoring, foot care, preventing or delaying complications. So the number one complication for folks with type 2 diabetes is heart disease. But we know it compromises most body systems. Foot care, since a lot of folks struggle with neuropathy, focusing on fat, since the heart healthy fats are better for preventing or mediating any further complications with heart disease, and strategies for sick days. So falling, oh my goodness, falling. We just had our big fall prevention awareness event, which thank you, Hearing Loss Association. Thank you to Eric. Thank you to Gail. Thank you to Sue for all participating in our event this year. Falling is a huge concern for older adults and for anyone, regardless of age. However, the consequences of a fall as we get older might be that much more due to the additional, maybe it's physical conditions we have to navigate. Maybe our vision isn't as solid. We know there is a connection between balance and hearing loss. Thank you, Eric, provided some phenomenal resources on that connection. And a lot of folks aren't talking to their doctors about it. So, and I hope our doctors are asking us if we've had a fall, and I hope we're being honest about it, because sharing that, hey, I had this fall, I'm not sure what happened. It could be something medical that you want to rule out. It could be a medication side effect. It could be a new condition. So definitely talking to the doctor about concerns about falling is crucial. What can we do to prevent falling? I know we're on a quick speed. We have a whole couple of workshops on fall prevention, but what can we do? Exercise. Exercise, what does that mean? Julie will talk about this in a little bit, but really movement is good. Motion is lotion. There's a reason why those slogans exist. Movement is good for the body. We also need to be mindful of what we're doing, right? So being aware of our surroundings. Multitasking is a risk for falling. Not paying attention is a risk for falling. Working with our doctors, again, if it's a medication issue, that's something that you want to work with your doctor to overcome. We also want to make sure we're getting adequate food and hydration, which Barb will touch on. We want to get good sleep, which Cindy will mention. We want to make our home environment safer. So over half of all falls happen in the home. Oh, my clicker is not working again. So anyhow, my slide's not working. That's okay. Over half of all falls happen at home. So a home safety checklist is also a great plan for fall prevention. So do you have grab bars in the bathroom? Is there a second railing along the stairs? Throw rugs are a big concern. So with fall prevention, it's really physically keeping your body moving, behaviorally paying attention to where we're going, getting our ears checked, our eyes checked, our feet checked, sensory information checked. Because if we're not getting as much sensory in, it's that much harder for our body to adjust appropriately. And address our faulty habits, the things that put us at risk for falling. So we do have our matter of balance class that I just wanted to share in that slide. All right, we can move forward with the slide, please. Maybe. technical difficulties, cranking it through. Got it? All right, great. So everyone gets a workbook. We do exercise as part of our classes. Because again, it's a combination of the exercise as well as, thank you, the home environment and the habits that we do. All right. Hooray. We also have Tai Chi. I'm not sure if anyone's tried Tai Chi in here, but it's also excellent for fall prevention. And if you're interested, come and see us. We'd love to sign you up. We are the instructors. We make it fun, and it's fun to learn something new. So fall prevention is one of the topics in the class. I shared over half of all falls happen at home, and it's a good idea. Go home and check your house. Do you have clear walkways? Do you have grab bars? Railings on both sides of your stairs? Do you need to have maybe a bar from garage to kitchen? So things to take a look at. Clutter's another risk. Okay, I'll turn it over to Barb, who's going to speak on healthy eating and hydration.
So, hi. When I use this, do I put it? Okay. So, one piece of the puzzle is healthy eating and hydration. And we talk in general guidelines for most people. Your own personal health situation and your culture and your upbringing, your likes and dislikes will affect your own process and your own needs when it comes to healthy eating and hydration. All right, let's woohoo, all right. So healthy eating and hydration increases your energy level. Food is fuel. Have you ever heard that statement? Food is fuel. It literally is our fuel for our bodies. Healthy eating and hydration promotes good health. Not only does it reduce our risk of developing chronic disease or worsening chronic disease, but it reduces our susceptibility to whatever's going around, the viruses and the bacterial infections and that sort of thing, having a healthy nutrition status. Also, if you do have a chronic disease, it's one of the important ways that you can manage that chronic disease, which is one of the things we touch on a lot in our classes. Healthy eating and hydration helps enhance your body's strength, flexibility, balance, and endurance, along with exercise. Working together, good food, fuel, and exercise are your best tools for that physical vigor. And it helps avoid frailty and prevent falls. It helps you maintain a healthy weight. It reduces problems with digestion, like constipation and other gastrointestinal tract disorders. It improves your appearance, and I'd like to say that this eating good food and feeling the benefits of that increases the sparkle in your eye. It makes you feel good, and it helps you look better and feel better. Knowing that you're taking good care of your body through healthy eating and hydration also improves your self-esteem. So that self-advocacy of taking care of yourself. Right. Woohoo, worked again. Yeah. All right, so some tips on how do we do this? What does this mean? Again, it's going to depend on your culture, your upbringing, your likes and dislikes. But generally, we tell people, eat a variety of foods. I had a question earlier from somebody about, is a vegetarian diet helpful? Is it healthy? So if a vegetarian diet can be extremely healthy, one of the healthiest ways to eat, if you include a lot of variety in your diet, plenty of whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and cereals, enriched foods, that sort of thing. So a variety of foods. Eat the rainbow. When it comes to vegetables, have you heard that saying, eat the rainbow? All different colors of vegetables have all different types of phytonutrients, they call them. It's beyond fruits, it's beyond it's beyond vitamins and minerals. It's all sorts of other things that are in food that we have yet to even document many of them, I think. Eat lean protein. So lean meats and poultry, fish, beans, low-fat dairy products. My colleagues know I love to push legumes. I'm a big legume pusher. If you're familiar with the blue zones, anybody familiar with the blue zones? Well, I won't go into detail about it now. You can ask me about it later or email me, but places across the world where people live to be 100 and beyond, on a regular basis in good health. Those places around the world all include legumes or beans in their diet every single day. So drink plenty of water, sparkling water, low fat or fat free milk, herbal teas. You can try fruit infused water with cucumbers or lemons or whatever. And then limiting salt, sugar, alcohol, saturated fat, and trans fat. Instead of those things which all add flavor, try spices and herbs. Look for low sodium packaged foods. All right. Does this look familiar to anybody? The My Plate graphic. Couple of nods. So this graphic is from the USDA. It replaced the food guide pyramid about 12 years ago. And they say only about 25% of adults know what this is. So you're seeing it here. Remember it. This basically shows you the proportion of the different food groups that ideally you might be eating on a daily basis at each meal. I encourage you to explore the myplate.gov website for more detail about this. It shows up here, the plate, assuming it's a moderately sized dinner plate, about 9 inches across, half fruits and vegetables, half grains and protein, a side of dairy or dairy alternatives, and a couple of different meals. All right, I won't go into too much detail about that, but I do encourage you to investigate that myplate.gov website to learn more about that. Right. Okay, this is just more reinforcement for tips for choosing healthier foods as we age. The variety of foods in each day shows the food groups, fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy or dairy alternatives. You can keep a food diary, just kind of keep track of what you eat to see actually what you are eating. You might be surprised. I've done this in the past and I was shocked at what I'm actually eating throughout the day. Reading food labels. In our classes, we talk about reading food labels and how to break them down. Choose foods, again, that don't have a lot of sugar, saturated fats, and sodium. The little to the right, you see, veggie sticks with a green check, French fries with an X, strawberry with a green check, and the chocolate covered donut with an X. I say, and this is what is said, if you like donuts and French fries, eat them, but just most of the time, eat the other way. So, and then be aware of how many calories you need per day. That's really just an awareness tool. Mostly it's about being aware of your serving sizes and the variety of the foods that you're eating. All right, and hydration. So they say it's the rule of 3 for wilderness training. You can live for about 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 weeks, maybe a little more without food. As we get older, that gets less, and about 3 days without water. So we need to stay hydrated. So how do we, our bodies, as you may have heard, are about 60 to 70% water. So we're losing water constantly. I'm losing a lot of water right now, talking, sweating, all the different things we do to lose water. So how do we do that? Add liquids throughout the day. Just keep something with you to be drinking. I got mine. Drink a full glass of water every time you have to take a pill. Keep water or some beverage with you during your meals. Take sips throughout the meal. Have a glass of water, a full glass of water every time you go outside to garden or to take a walk or exercise. Drink water, milk, and other drinks without added sugars. Milk does have sugar, as some of the people who live with diabetes will be aware of. It's got natural sugar in it. If you drink alcohol, do it in moderation. And if you have a urinary control problem, talk to your doctor about how to handle that, but you always have to be taking in liquids no matter what. Recommended amount, they used to say 8 glasses a day. It's going to depend on you and your situation. One of the more recent guidelines I read, take your weight divided by 3. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you would divide that by 3 to get 50 ounces per day. Again, it depends on you. Best way to tell if you're dehydrated is to look in after you urinate. What does it look like? Is it clear or light yellow? You're probably well hydrated. If it's amber or dark yellow, you might need to be drinking more. Keeping in mind too that we do get plenty of water through foods. About 20% of our water comes through foods. The more fruits and vegetables you eat, the more fluids you're getting from your food. Yep. So in combination with healthy eating is exercise. I'll pass it to Jude.
Hello. Hi, I'm Julie Battaglia. So we're going to talk about exercise. I'm going to forward this. Oh, yes, exercise with you. Well, I don't like to say exercise. I'll be honest. Exercise, when you think of exercise, doesn't the visual of Jane Fonda in her leotards is the first thing you think of? I mean, I grew up in the 80s. So you think of that, right? So we hear from our doctors all the time about exercise, but I don't like to say exercise. We like to say physical activity. What's physical activity? It's doing our everyday activities, being able to put on our pants and balancing on one leg, being able to cook your dinner, standing upright, being able to get in and out of a car, those everyday activities and those physical activity that we do to move our skeletal muscular system and get our circulation going. It improves all of our body functions with exercise. You're getting blood to everything, when you exercise. So we want to be able to do our everyday activities. But we also want to be able to, with that in conjunction, live longer and independently. If you can't do your everyday activities, then you're going to need some help. And we want to be able to live independently for longer time. We also want to prevent and manage our chronic conditions. Exercise helps with that, helps with managing arthritis. We teach a class for Tai Chi for arthritis. It lubricates those joints and it keeps loose, it keeps our management of our pain. We also want to, exercise really helps with type 2 diabetes. It helps with any chronic condition. So moving our body, just moving it, even just sitting here and moving it will help with living longer, everyday activities, and managing chronic conditions. But also exercise does have a component of social. We want to be able to go out and visit friends. And if you are losing some of those, you can't put on, you're having problems getting up from the chair, you're having problems getting in and out of a car. It's very difficult to go see friends and family. It's very difficult to do anything. So it's really important not only to get exercise, but get that physical activity, move the body, move those big muscles, move around. Plus, when you do have physical activity, I taught aerobics for many years at the Y. Many of my students said the reason they come to those classes is to talk with their friends, to be with their friends, have coffee afterwards. So that social component with that exercise. So what type of exercise do we need to get? I'm flipping it. So there's 4 components to our exercise. And we really want to build in those 4 components. The first one is called the endurance. What is endurance? Endurance is that cardio, getting that heart rate up. It's the running, the swimming, the walking. It is the skiing. It's all those physical activities that makes your heart go faster, moves the heart. What other part of exercise do we really want to get? The other component is the strength. Why do we need strength? We're not going to become bodybuilders here. I don't expect that. But we want to keep those muscles very strong in order to do those everyday activities. So some kind of strength resistance training. And you don't have to go buy a whole Bowflex gym or even go to the gym if you don't want to. You could use your own body as resistance, like doing some sit-ups or push-ups with using gravity as a strength building. You can use cans of soup. You can use whatever you want, or you can get some hand weights or some leg weights or you can join a gym, whatever feels good for you, but it's building those strength in those large muscle groups. Plus, we also have flexibility. What's flexibility? Flexibility is being able to tie our shoes, being able to pick up our grandkids when we can. Having that flexibility is so important. So it's that stretching, our good morning stretch when we wake up in the morning, moving our toes, moving our fingers, helping with arthritic fingers for that flexibility. We want to have that flexibility. And the last component is some kind of balance exercise. And I know Sarah touched upon that with our fall prevention, but balance is so important. It keeps us upright. So doing a little bit of balance, maybe every other day, like trying to stand on one foot, trying to walk heel to toe, try to walk on your toes. Those are all balance exercises you can incorporate with your program or your action plan of moving, physical activity, and exercise. So how much exercise should we get? We should get about 150 minutes per week. So 150 minutes of activity per week, and you can divide that among whatever you would like to do. That could be 30 minutes for 5 days a week, or that could be whatever you want to divide it. When we do our exercise classes or when we do any of our balance classes, we give them a group of exercise, but we also say you can, take it apart, do whatever you want when your schedule is, and find something you like to do. It's so important. If you're doing something that you don't want to do and you're being forced to do it, you're not going to do it. I know that for a fact. It's happened to me, So find an activity that you love to do. If it's gardening, if it's, playing with your grandkids, if it's taking the dog for a walk. All these are activities that make your body move. And that is so, so important. So you really want to incorporate all those components in your exercise program or your action plan for movement. And before you begin any type of exercise program, make sure you check with your doctor because, certain medications could affect exercise. There are certain aspects, maybe you have a torn rotator cuff and you can't do certain exercise. You want to listen to your body because everybody's body is different, and find something you like to do and move. That's all I want to say is just move it. Now I'm going to pass it over to Cindy.
Testing. I'm going to stand so I can see the folks over here better with the projector here, and you can see me better. Oh, I need to move the camera. Yeah, again. Is that okay? Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Cindy Cahill, and I am among the 65 and older group. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons I like teaching with Lifespan is because it keeps me focused and it really reinforces for me my own aging process and how important it is to pay attention to that. And it also is a way of giving back and social connection, which we've heard several times mentioned already this morning. So I'm going to talk about healthy relationships. And before I even share the first slide, I want to say that healthy relationships are so crucial. There's been so much research done in this area, and I'm sure you've heard of some of it. I want to cite one study that really caught my attention, and it's by the Harvard Medical School. And it's a longitudinal study, which means following people over a long period of time. And in this case, it was, I think, 85 or 86 years. Now, that's a long time, obviously, with more than one researcher. And the findings of that study were quite remarkable, that people were happier, healthier, and also lived longer if they had really good social connections with family, with friends, and also with their communities through volunteer work, through other groups that one might connect with. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that out there. Another thing, and this is kind of the other side of the coin, is that it helps us avoid the risks that are often associated with aging, which are loneliness and isolation, even depression. Because let's face it, we go through a lot of changes as we age. Some of those changes involve the loss of family members and friends, even some physical loss, and that can leave us really at risk for getting in trouble in terms of well, all kinds of things. I mean, all kinds of health issues. Many researchers believe that this is also linked to physical as well as emotional conditions if we don't really attend to healthy relationships. So things like cancer and high blood pressure, diabetes, and of course, we know that the mind is connected to the body. So that cycle that Sarah talked about, as soon as we're experiencing physical problems, we may also experience emotional problems and vice versa. So it's really, really important. But I'll tell you, the difficult thing about focusing on healthy relationships is that many of us are so influenced by our growing up experiences, you know, those important adult caregivers in our lives. And that can leave us a little vulnerable for later problems in relationships. You know, whether we grew up in a family like mine that was very disengaged, not very attentive, can leave one more starved for attention and maybe compromising oneself when you don't need to. Or the other side of that, maybe you grew up in a family that was overly involved. We refer to that in the clinical world as enmeshed families. And that leaves us vulnerable as well, that we may fear intimacy, we may fear closeness because we had too much of it as kids. So I think you're getting the idea that these are important to have these healthy relationships, but the question becomes, how do we do that? We first have to understand that we all have rights in relationships. And in our classes, we really talk about a relationship bill of rights. Not on here because I think it's a given, as we all have a right to be free of fear and free from abuse in relationships. But some other rights that are really important are things like really thinking about how I want to express my feelings and opinions. You know, will I be able to get some good receiving on the other end of that? You know, feeling confident that I can end relationships if they're toxic for me, if I'm not getting my needs met, that I have the right to do that. And I have the right to start new relationships as well. Understanding that I have a right to make decisions and it's my choice how I go about making those decisions. And another one you see up here, really the opportunity to examine all of our relationships, the quantity as well as the quality. And sometimes recognizing, like I have done in the last few years, people in my circle of friends who are really kind of acquaintances. I didn't really feel like I get my needs really well met. And so I had to just not completely drop those, but back away a little bit and not spend as much time and really focus my time and energy on relationships that provided energy and nurturance along the way. So once I understand that I have rights, I need to also know what are some communication strategies. And by the way, these involve skills to help me manage those relationships better. So the first one here, visualize the conversation ahead of time, especially with really difficult conversations with people important to us. We might want to think ahead of time, what might this person's response be? If I could anticipate that, and if they respond in that way, how might I respond, you know, accordingly? Or being assertive and setting healthy boundaries. As a therapist, oh my goodness, this is a biggie. People not feeling as though they have the right to set limits, back to the Bill of Rights, if you will, but also not having enough self-esteem to be able to care for themselves and stepping up and saying, this is what I need to do, and this is what I need from another important person in my life. The next three of these are all about listening, you know, active listening, empathy, acknowledging other people's feelings. It's really attending to other people in our lives the way we would like to be attended to. Because if people aren't actively listening to us and caring about what we have to say, then over time, we're probably going to say that's a toxic relationship. I really don't want to be part of that. And the last three are really about attending to myself. Can I forgive where that's needed? Which doesn't mean forget, but it does mean that I'm not carrying the wound so freshly that I live my life as a victim. And if I'm living my life as a victim, then I'm really not able to speak up for myself. I'm not able to be a self-advocate and manage my own life well. Or negotiating to create a win-win, especially in really important issues and decisions. You know, if it's a minor thing like which movie should we see or which restaurant should we go to, less of a big deal, right? I might be willing to compromise. But compromising on the big stuff only leads to resentment. So how do I learn the skills to actively advocate for my needs, but also listen to the other person's needs and see if we can really find that win-win? And again, reinitiating former relationships where it makes sense. So I want to do that judiciously. I don't want to have a gazillion people in my circle, but I want to have the people in my circle who really provide that nurturance and support and help me get my needs met. So relationships are crucial. We've just skimmed the surface on that topic. Hopefully some of you will sign up for one of the classes at Lifespan and we can go into more detail. Sleep. This is one of my very favorite topics because one of my chronic, well, it's actually my only chronic condition, thank goodness right now. I have really struggled from time to time with insomnia. So sleep, we know, is so very crucial in our lives. The medical field is starting to really look at sleep as an indicator of overall health, of everything that goes on in our health and our lives. You know, sleeping well is essential to our physical and our emotional well-being. As we've already highlighted, the two go hand in hand, they influence one another. It helps us physically stay stronger and more alert. What we know scientifically and chemically is it helps repair our cells and the damage to our cells that goes on from day to day. And what we know about insufficient sleep is it can lead to much bigger problems over time, which on an emotional level could be depression and anxiety, memory problems, dementia, and on a physical level, certainly, you know, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, different types of cancers, including breast cancer. So sleep is absolutely crucial. How much sleep do we need? Well, there's some disagreement about this among the experts, but most seem to agree that we need between 7.5 and 9 hours. What's really important is that our sleep is regular or consistent. And that means going to bed at a similar time each night and getting up at a similar time in the morning. Because there are certain chemicals in our system that influence our awake time and sleep time. Some of you may have heard of melatonin, you may have heard of circadian rhythms. Those things to stay in balance really require some regularity. Some people may feel rested after 6 hours, but I add this one with a little bit of caution. I attended a sleep conference in the last year due to my insomnia. And what I learned is that it's less than 10% of us who need less than 7.5 hours. We could be fooling ourselves. I thought that was really interesting. And they talked about sleep perception, that we may perceive that we're sleeping okay, you know, but if we were hooked up to monitors, et cetera, we might find that the quality of our sleep is not so good. You know, as we age, we don't manufacture as much melatonin in our bodies. As we age, we have to get up in the night more. You know why, right? Different kinds of things. So we just need to keep in mind and understand what's best for our body. And you may be one of the lucky ones who only need 6 hours. I like my 7.5 or 8. Yeah, so the most common causes of insomnia and sleep problems, especially for older adults, we as older adults. You know, I heard in the same sleep conference a really interesting metaphor. I love this metaphor. One of the practitioners said, you might think of sleep in terms of the weather and the climate, that your habits of sleep, what some call sleep hygiene, this is the first one up here, 4 sleep habits, are necessary but not sufficient. And they change from day to day, or they can change. It's up to us, but we can change those from day to day. Whereas the underlying state of our central nervous system is like the climate, it takes longer to change, but it's really important. So if we only pay attention to habits or sleep hygiene, that's necessary, but it's not enough. And the same sleep expert talked about how the reason we have sleep problems, and some say it's an epidemic proportion, Rochester even made the news during COVID about our terrible sleep situation here in Rochester, New York, which is fascinating to me. But it's not, we don't sleep not because we're not sleepy, but because we're too awake, that we're overstimulated. Think about it. News 24/7, social media, social engagements, activity, activity, activity. And if we don't learn how to rest and relax, then again, that climate, that underlying climate of our central nervous system is on high alert. And it's almost impossible to sleep when that's the case. So you see a kind of a mix of things up here of hygiene factors, as well as those things that influence the underlying climate. So just a couple that influence that underlying climate are things like stress or psychological disorders. Whereas poor sleep habits or the lack of sunlight or too much noise in the room, those are all hygiene factors that we have a little bit more influence over to change those day to day. Some daytime sleep strategies that could be helpful. Well, we've talked a lot about being engaged in social activities, right? That influences both our sleep weather as well as sleep climate, right? Working on improving our mood, that's all about that underlying sleep climate, our central nervous system. Finding people we can talk to, good friends, family members, even a therapist or our doctor about important matters, again, helps us calm down and be less anxious. And things like exercising, sunshine, and limiting the stimulants in our lives, like caffeine and so forth, really are a lot about sleep hygiene, things that we can control day to day. Caffeine has a 7-hour half-life, which means half of the caffeine is still in our body 7 hours after we have that last cup of coffee. And Starbucks has 30% more caffeine in it than other coffees. I learned that. I didn't know that before. So I steer clear of Starbucks coffee. It's too expensive anyways. And lastly, some tips to get better sleep, some things at night to really focus on. And these again are really good, solid hygiene factors. Managing light. We've all heard about backlit devices and, televisions and iPads and iPhones. And the experts tell us, turn those off at least an hour, better yet 2 hours before we go to bed at night. Sleep in a comfortable bed, quiet, dark, cool, all those things crucial. Use the bedroom only for sleep and sex. Don't turn on that television set or play video games while you're in bed, at night. I mean, you can do that, but at the expense of either quantity or quality of sleep or both. Move bedroom clocks out of view. Even when I go to a hotel, I put a washcloth over the clock in the area. I can't stand seeing what time it is at night because it wakes up my mind. I don't know if you're like me in that regard, but my mind just kicks in. I'm like, oh, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I wonder if I can sleep 2 more hours. What do I have to do tomorrow? And again, your mind is going. And if you nap, short, early, and comfortable. Don't nap, don't take long naps. Early afternoon naps are best to make sure you're in a comfortable spot. So we're just skimming the surface there too, but healthy sleep, really crucial. Back to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Cindy. All right, so just a quick bit on medication management. So I am not a doctor, I am not a nurse, I'm not a pharmacist, but we are trained in this program to offer general guidelines. So for medication management, we really want to make sure we're having those conversations with our doctor. I hope we feel we can talk with our doctor. I hope we have a pharmacist that we can speak with. They're an excellent resource. We encourage you to use one pharmacy as one gatekeeper so that all the medications are all going through the same gate, because then the checks and balances of potential drug interactions can be reviewed. Okay. We want to make sure we review what we're on. We need to know what we are taking, why we're taking it, and we're following it as prescribed. Part of the reason those instructions are given, take with food or hour of sleep, is to reduce the potential for some of those negative side effects. Okay. We also want to keep a regular list of our medications, keep them all on one sheet. I don't know if anyone has the file of life magnet. A lot of the volunteer ambulance services offer them. They're a magnet, and it's a pull-out foldable sheet where you can list all of your medications, your allergies, your diagnoses, your doctor, and contact info. It's a good idea to have that in one place and tell someone where it is so that if you run into trouble, your person knows where to get that information from. Okay. All right. And I say, don't be afraid to ask questions, and also have those questions, write them down before your appointment. Sometimes we get to that appointment and we've been waiting 6 months and there's this big buildup. And then we get in there and our 10 minutes to talk are done. And then the doctor goes for that doorknob and, oh, wait. So it's a good idea to have them written down, hand over the whole list, maybe have the top 1 or 2 addressed during that visit, but you can give the list to the doctor to then have your questions answered when there is more time for a more careful review. I encourage you to utilize the My Care, My Chart apps on the phone. You can send a message to the doctor. You know, if you have a fall and it's embarrassing, maybe it's less embarrassing. Just put the message through to the doctor just to document it, just so it's written down and you have it in your chart. Okay, it's just good to have things down just in case. And one quick thing is just polypharmacy can be a big concern, right? Medications or chemicals we're putting into our body. And we are all walking chemistry, biology experiments. We don't know how all of those chemicals are going to interact with our composition. So it is important to, if you're on a new medication, slow down, be aware of your body, note changes, ask the doctor, you know, what should I expect? Would this be anticipated? But definitely polypharmacy can be risky. The more medications you take, the greater the risk that a couple of them aren't going to like each other. Okay. So, and again, it's a good idea to use one pharmacy so that at least the pharmacist can do that review. Because in a perfect world, all of our doctors will be talking to each other, but that's not necessarily the case, right? Because I can share, I had a situation where a dermatologist put me on something that interacted with what the primary put me on. It was the pharmacist who caught it. And the potential risk was irregular heartbeat. So I was very thankful that they caught that because I wouldn't really want to experience that. Just a little tip on that. Okay. So again, we are Lifespan. We have all of these are evidence-based programs. So there are a series of classes. So you get that reinforcement, you get that social support, you get all of this great information. So we've got our spread of all of these classes that we offer. So the Matter of Balance, the Tai Chi, both the Living Healthy and Living Healthy with Diabetes, the Aging Mastery. We also have Lifespan Services, kind of an overview little booklet you could take with the main number. And we also have, so part of our Aging Mastery class, one of the materials is a notepad. And in our classes, we like to make short, doable goals. So I encourage any or all of you to come and take one sheet. And for your homework this week, your homework is to share for yourself. Take it home. This week, my goal is I am grateful for and people I want to connect with. So those three kind of go with what we had talked about. Short goals, recognizing how we're feeling, doing a self-check, and also recognizing that we have a lot of love to share, and being with other people, they have a lot to share with us. So all three of those. So I encourage any or all of you to take a sheet to have a weekly goal sheet for yourself for this week. There's our classes again. Julie and I are primary contacts, but really any or all of us, I'm sure right here, are available. So you can give us a call. I know we've made this PowerPoint available to Charlie and Sue. We can send it out so you have our info. And I'll leave you with an Eleanor Roosevelt quote. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. That's why we call it the present. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Eric, hello. Good to see you again.
Of particular interest in this group, that you alluded to it, is that we've been stump supporters of Lifespan's balance fairs. And it's really important to the folks here in the room. Balance and falls are a concern for all of us, particularly as we get more vintage. We don't want to fall and break something. But and balance issues are not caused by hearing loss, because you can have balance issues without hearing loss, or you can have hearing loss without balance issues. But there is a strong correlation. I mean, balance is due to a lot of things, but if you have hearing loss, even mild to moderate, you got a 50% chance of having balance issues. If you're like me, then you're deep. It's more like 95% balance issues. That's why you see me with my through-wheel cart or my cane. It's really, really important to folks that have a hearing loss to consider balance. There's a prescription. Your eyes and your ears are critical to balance. So if you got glasses, for heaven's sake, wear them. If you got hearing aids, for heaven's sake, wear them. A lot of people say, oh, I don't use them this and that, but they're risking a fall if they do.
Absolutely. I know we're out of time. So thank you so much, everyone. Happy fall season, happy autumn, but happy not falling during fall. All right. Be careful, be safe, take care of each other and yourselves. Thank you. Bye-bye.